Middle Village was a summer residence for the Chinook people for thousands of years. It was located along the lower Columbia River, about 5 miles from the ocean. The village served as the starting point for a sophisticated trade system amongst the native tribes.
I got involved with the Middle Village project 9 years ago, I think. I had stopped by because they were doing digging, and I was interested in archaeology. And then I was on the Chinook Cultural Committee, and they came to us and they said, there is a concrete floor that has been there since 1920, so we're going to pull that off. And when we do, we think there's going to be artifacts. So I was the one that came over to do it, and I've been involved in it ever since. It was right out here is where they found the plank house. It's just down the way where they found artifacts. There's so much that went on, and the main thing was to save the village, to not destroy it, and yet present what did happen here. The Chinook here were used to trading with trading ships. Their whole society was built on trading with this wealth. The only way that you could get to the interior is up to Columbia. It's like you built your house across I-5 and charged toll. The people on the plains lived on horses. Out here, the canoe was everything. This was the highway. You had to have the canoes to go, and besides that, they were just beautiful canoes. Lewis and Clark wrote about being down here at the mouth and watching the natives go across the river. And they were going across, clear across, 5 miles across there, in a storm. And he's saying he had never seen a vessel that size go through storms like that. It just was impossible. They just lived it. This was the largest salmon run in the world. So the food was plentiful here. And because the food was plentiful, then they had the time to develop the culture and their society.
Captain Robert Gray arrived on the lower Columbia in 1792 and was the first Euro-American to trade with the Chinook. After Gray's arrival, almost 90 trade ships from Europe and the United States crossed the Columbia River Bar 13 years before Lewis and Clark arrived.
At the time the white men came, the diseases came in. And so you ended up with, especially around 1830s, you ended up with a time where there was maybe 90% of the people died. That means if out of every 10 people that you know, there would be one left. And you couldn't sustain villages. Tansy Point Treaty was done by a man named Dart, who was Indian Commissioner at the time. And he took what few people they were, they met at Tansy Point, they drew in the several of the chiefs that they had, and they signed a treaty. Well, it went back east, and when it got back there, they were told, you don't have to worry about a treaty because they're dead anyway. There's so few of them left, they will not survive. So it wasn't ratified. There was what they called a Western Oregon Termination Act. In other words, they terminated a whole bunch of tribes in the 50s. And we got brought into that because part of our tribes were on the Oregon side. So that's where we got terminated out of. of all those tribes that were terminated, we're the only one that hasn't been reinstated. We've brought back things that existed before. We have the first salmon ceremony. We're doing more things together. We're starting a canoe journey down the Columbia we did for the first time this year. A lot of our things are coming back which have just not been, because you lose these things. And then the most important thing, I think, is we're getting our language back. We have a lot of people that are really pulling for us and really working for us, and we'll get it. It's just going to take time.
Middle Village Station Camp is a unit of Lewis and Clark National Historical Park. The park is located 2 miles west of the Astoria-Makeler Bridge on US 101 in Washington.